Welcome back to the CTB pond build. If you're new to the channel, over the last few months we've been building a half-acre fishing pond on our property. First steps we took were to clear the land and start filling the tank, and along the way we've started adding some of our first fish and plants. Our goals over the last few months have been to get the water level to the right height and to manage any erosion that's occurring. We made sure to routinely check the water quality as well to make sure the water is safe for the fish that we've placed in the pond already. And while the recent rains have helped us a lot with our first goal of increasing the water level, it has also highlighted some of the more major erosion issues. The water looks especially bad after the most recent rain, but we found that after a couple of days, runoff typically settles at the bottom, which should help to seal the tank even more. While the tank has been filling, we've already started to see a lot more animal activity, with turtles and frogs starting to appear at the pond bank, along with some larger animals being drawn out from the surrounding woods. We've mostly seen deer, but we've also started to see turkeys as well as bobcat activity along the pond bank. Overall, erosion is down a lot compared to a few months ago. Place the pond at the lowest point of elevation of the property to make sure we gather the maximum amount of runoff, but this has been creating a large amount of channels along the pond bank, so first thing we did was plant a variety of grasses along the pond's bank to see which option grew the best. After planting grass, we dug out two main channels starting far back from the pond to prevent the large number of smaller erosion channels and to increase the amount of runoff that we're collecting. We then added French piping to the channels and covered this piping with gravel to maximize the amount of utility it was able to provide. Based on how effective this French piping is, we can continue to extend the piping out into the property to hopefully increase the amount of runoff that is then gathered into the pond. As we'll look at some of the other projects that we've been working on to help stop the erosion. First, we started adding more grass seed to the border. Here we're mixing two different types of grass seed based on the recommendation of the Texas Parks and Wildlife representative that recently visited regarding our wildlife tax exemption. We collapsed a couple of the larger channels which have been created due to the recent rain, but plan on flattening everything more once the grass grows in. Similar to larger channels, we're holding off on placing larger plants on the edge of the bank until the grass has grown in more to make sure the plants aren't washed away by the rain. While we're waiting to add larger plants to the bank, we are making sure the water is staying properly oxygenated by adding a restoration tank. This tank pumps water from the bottom of the tank to a smaller container filled with water plants. Overflow from the tank then runs over a rock bed, backs in the pond for additional oxygenation. The restoration tank uses solar power to pull the colder water at the base of the pond with high algae content out to be filtered by the plants in the restoration tank. Since this first design has been going well, we plan on adding another restoration tank that the overflow of this first tank will run into before being returned to the main pond. Another project that we've been working on is adding in more areas for bass spawning. Started to see the bass already in the pond spawn in shallows, but we want to add more space to help them and hopefully increase the number of bass in the pond moving forward. Initial branches that we added to the pond have been a good start in creating bass spawning areas, but for the new spawning beds, we want to make sure that the fishing line wouldn't get easily caught on the structures. So based on some of the structures that are sold online, we repurposed some of the plastic tubing and piping we already had available into a makeshift structure. Placing the structure at a point that's shallow enough for the bass to still spawn, but will also be covered up once the water level rises at the point we need it to be at. It's definitely not the prettiest spawning structure, but should do a good job for what's needed. Once the water cleared up a bit, we were able to see that the fish have already been hanging around close to the new structure, which has made things a lot easier for fishing. Alright, that wraps things up for this video. Make sure to like and subscribe as we have a lot of exciting things coming up, which includes adding more fish to the pond and the tagging process that we've been using to keep track of how well the fish have been growing. Hope you all liked this video, and we'll see you next time.